25 common misconceptions about United States that simply aren't true. Let's see what are these 25 misconceptions which aren't true, but there are misconceptions. Let's learn something new today.
The United States often draws a lot of flack from the rest of the world for everything. From its foreign policy to the way it runs its domestic affairs. In fact, it seems like there are few things that can divide the world more evenly and more strongly than asking people what their opinion is of the United States. Everyone has an opinion. Even in the same city, you'll meet people who fall on the extreme sides of the spectrum.
That's true. Everyone should have an opinion. In my opinion, everyone should have their opinion, and everyone has right to have an opinion.
But
about
what
anything.
is it exactly that causes America to be so messed up? Even America's own politicians can't seem to stop talking about how messed up things are. Well, today we're going to take a deeper look. Are things really as bad as everyone seems to think they are? I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 common misconceptions about the United States that simply aren't true. And as a very important note, this list was produced by both a United States citizen and 2 European citizens that relocated to the United States. It's written to be as fair as possible. No, I'm not 2 Europeans. Or am I?
No.
All right, let's begin with a really common thought. Americans are ignorant about the world.
Geography.
Americans are held to an unrealistic standard. Since the rest of the world watch our movies and listen to our music, they know a lot about our country. But let's be honest.
That's true. But Americans don't. Look, it's not about Americans, but it's about any other nationality. Most of the people don't know about most of the countries, rather than like top maybe 5 or 10 countries like UK, US. All these countries people know because of films and movies and everything, but I think because of the career opportunities and the lifestyle, the attractive lifestyle and everything, so I think it's not Americans. But if you go to some other country, let's go choose any, okay, you name it, you go there are more than 200 countries as of my knowledge on this globe. There's no person other than maybe some teacher or some student of geography who know all countries. And even after that, that's no teacher. No one on the world know everything about every country. Okay, you can know about you can have knowledge about so many countries. That's possible, but having accurate knowledge about every country on this globe is kind of impossible unless you are in very specific, some kind of special job which requires it. I don't think it's a thing. So yeah, most of the people on this globe are ignorant to different. It's not ignorant. I won't say it's ignorant. I would say it's not convenient for most of the humans to keep track of every country which they aren't even going to go in their whole life, or don't affect them in any direct or indirect way.
They never studied it. People actually complain that Americans don't even know that Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. But neither does half the United Kingdom, and they're on the same continent.
That's what I'm saying. Most of the people don't know about other countries. They don't give a F about other countries because it doesn't matter, and they shouldn't be. Every country have their own problems going on. Doesn't matter what country, every country have their own problems. Okay, it doesn't matter how rich or how big or how better the country is. Okay, so people should focus on their own problems first, then on others. Yeah.
It turns out that all of us are pretty bad at geography. You'd think America would be better at it, however, considering another common thought is that America spends its days spying on everyone.
Sorry for that, but talking about geography, most of the people don't even know about Alaska being part of America. most of the people who say, I know America, I know American culture, this and that, I personally have experienced that most of the people don't even know that Alaska is in totally different area, like side of the Canada, totally de-linked from the America, totally different land, different place, but it's America. Okay, so I am assuming some Americans even don't know. It's just human nature.
And that's true. But who doesn't? Germany, France, Switzerland, Japan, Iceland, and all the rest of us spy on each other and ourselves.
That's what's called security. Spying is not... How can I explain it? Okay. Spying sound evil, but it's very crucial part of a country's sovereignty and safety. Okay, if you aren't keeping an eye on everything, what's going on worldwide, or whether someone's planning something bad for you, you're gonna get killed. It's same in you go to jungle, you go to wherever you like. Even in back in the days when humans were not this not with these modern societies, in old days, there were people who used to keep an eye on different kingdoms. So if some other kingdom planning to attack on you, you are at least ready to protect you. So spying isn't bad. Like spying on other countries isn't bad until unless it's like for bad. It doesn't make sense.
America has been called racist. Please don't take this the wrong way. Racism definitely exists, and it makes the news. But you know what else? America also has a vicious media, and all of the world watches it, sometimes more than their own media. So when something super bad happens in other countries, it might not even make the back page. Next, it's a common misconception that Americans don't use public transport.
Talking about American media, why most of the people consume it even outside of America is because whatever happens in America does affect other countries. Whatever happened in other countries doesn't all the time affect America, if that makes any sense, because of dollars. Everything like the global trade happens in dollar. There are so many things happen in dollar. If American stock market go down, other countries' stock market will go eventually up and down somewhat. So in directly or indirectly, if something happened in America, that lead up to or end up to disrupting or affecting other countries a little or more, less or more, depend on the country, how integrated their systems are and everything. So that's why most of the people watch American news. If something's happening, if America come up with new policies which can like completely change global trade, that affects other countries. That's why I think that's my opinion, my perception of thinking why people watch American media more than sometimes from their country.
Transport. While it's true that we use cars a lot, many regions in America have great public transport, or at least just as good as Europe. Besides, what good is a train if nobody can afford it? We're looking at you, UK. Moving on. America does / is fill in the blank. America is far from being a unified entity. Each state has its own laws, cultures, and quirks. Some states have the death penalty. Some don't. Some have strict gun laws, and some don't. Some have free college. Some don't. Some have tax, and yeah, some don't. So just like you can't say Europe is so-and-so, you can't say the same about the US. As an additional note, the states are far more independent than many of us realize. In fact, every state even has its own military, known as the Guard. Furthermore, some states pass legislation that directly contradicts the federal government. This is because in the US, the federal government is not the highest authority, the states are.
I knew about that. Like every state have their own law, different what you call that, judiciary systems, whatever it's called. So yeah, I'm aware of that, and it's difficult when there's so many variety or diversity in law and everything. So
To further establish the fact that America isn't a single entity, many believe that Americans only speak one language. But that's no different from the rest of the world. Have you ever been to France, or the UK, or Italy, or how about China? Most of them only speak one language too. That being said, over 20% of the US is bilingual. Now, let's talk about the military, because people outside the US will preach that America's military does, again, fill in the blank. Nobody is
what's filling the blank? American military does what?
naive enough to think that the US doesn't have selfish interests in mind when it invades a country. There isn't a nation on earth that would do that selflessly. But whenever
That's
the bad
true.
goes down, it's just as common for other countries to complain that America should do something.
Turn your billion-dollar web app idea into reality with Hostinger Horizons. To start, just tell
On a more or less lighter note,
On military, talking about military, I'm saying if any country have the military power US have, they will do might even worse. They can do even worse. Okay, think about Israel, Iraq, all these countries. If they have direct control over American military, I don't have to say anything. Okay,
Americans are fat.
Americans are the pregnant guy.
You ever been to the UK lately? There are even scandals because obese patients are getting turned down for surgery. Yes, America does have an obesity problem. But not all citizens are involved in it. I am. A big part of the United States is fairly health conscious and is consistently working to help the overweight population better their lives. Thanks, healthy people. And while we aren't perfect, many complain that America is worse than other developed nations in, well, everything. There are many statistics,
What does that mean?
child mortality, literacy, etc., where the US falls behind countries like Norway and Iceland. But those statistics are based on averages. In Norway, most of the 5 million inhabitants are rich, white, and Norwegian. If you took a similar sample of rich, white Americans in the US, you would find that the statistics are almost exactly the same. The fact is that the US is hugely diverse, and the American experience is completely different with and without money. Translation? The problem isn't healthcare or education, it's economic inequality, almost exclusively. And speaking of inequality, many make the simple but powerful assumption that America just isn't safe. This is usually what foreign citizens say until they actually come here. By this same logic, Paris, Brussels, London, Madrid, and almost every other city in Europe is unsafe as well. Yes, there are guns, but most Americans have never seen or heard a gun being fired. In fact, most Swiss citizens are much more familiar with gunfire than us Americans. All this being said so far,
Talking about crime in different countries. What the heck is this? Okay, so back to the video. Talking about crime in different countries. Every country have crime. There's no country on this world which don't have crime at all. It could be less or more, depend on the severity of the, what you call that, of the judiciary, like how cruel the law is. Like, and if you go to Middle East, if you do theft, they will cut your hand according to Sharia law or something like that. So there tend to be less theft, but that's inhuman. Okay, if someone had like theft in his life by mistake or something, chopping off their hand is inhuman kind of, and putting them in jail is less inhuman. It's like correcting them. But yeah, usually what happens is, talking about crime is, usually when you are out of that country, like you are a foreigner, you are looking over the country. Let's assume a country have 100 million people, okay? And every day there are like 5 murders, okay? Just assume, okay? Then what you're gonna see is, you're gonna see 5 murders happening. You're gonna see like murder happened here, murder happened in New York, murder happened in here, this one killed here, that. You're gonna think it's like crime is everywhere. But that's not true. There were 100 million people, only 5 are the one who got killed or dies somehow. So it's like, I think media filters out a lot and brings out a lot, sometimes unverified also. So which seems there's a lot of crime, but in reality there ain't that much.
People still expect all Americans to relish in a life of our stereotypes. Guns, fast food, and freedom! What I'm saying is, a lot of the world looks at America as overly patriotic. But here's an honest question. Have you ever met a Russian, Australian, a proud member of the UK?
Everyone is
There's
patriotic.
no shame in having pride in your country. Us Americans are definitely patriotic. But so is the rest of the world. As they should be. It's not a crime to be proud of where you came from. But that doesn't stop others from thinking we only complain and boast about America whenever we travel abroad. This is largely anecdotal. In America, Americans like to complain just like the rest of us. Only a few of them ever even leave the country, so you're meeting an unrepresentative sample.
Yeah.
But in their defense, many times, they're right. Yes, this can hit hard in the pride spot, but maybe Europeans could stand to smile a bit more, right? No? Okay, fine, back to the apathetic, leave me alone face. By the way, that part was written for our European representative, by our European representative. I love all of you. Anyways, statistics viewed by outsiders show that the US is lagging behind. Similar to topics we've already discussed, there's another factor that we have to take into account: reporting. Every nation reports its own statistics. This means that making statistical comparisons between two developed nations, like the US and the UK, is an exercise in futility. The data is just too close and won't reveal much except that the US counts people one way and the US counts them another. That still doesn't make this misconception true. Americans are fake. Here's the thing. In Europe, citizens are almost proud of the fact that they're really standoffish. But once you get to know them, they're your friend for life. Well, here's a newsflash. Once you get to know an American, they'll also be your friend for life. The thing is, though, they don't use this as an excuse to be a jerk in the beginning. This list sounds great coming from an American. I was totally the one who should have read this one, but I digress. On a totally different but very popular misconception, Americans are the only ones who call football soccer. Actually, a lot of the world calls...
Okay. Sorry for that sound. Wait, let it go. Okay. Recently, what I found is American called football the oval shape football. I know I have heard it before, rugby or something. American called that football. I recently reacted on this video, the top hits or something like that in football history. So yeah, you can check that video also on my YouTube channel. But that was a shocking news, like different, totally out of this world for me, from my world. Everyone has their own world. So yeah, I didn't knew that American called that football where they don't even use their foot. But it's okay, and it's this is called soccer or football. That's fine.
Calls it soccer. Even parts of Ireland still call it soccer. Oh, what do I mean by still? I'm glad you asked. It was actually the British who coined the term soccer. The word soccer is an abbreviation of association and first appeared in universities in the 1880s, sometime using the variant spelled soccer with a K. The word is sometimes credited to Charles Redford Brown, an Oxford University student said to have been fond of shortened forms such as brekkers for breakfast and rugger for rugby football. Britain actually started using the word football in the late 20th century, possibly because people incorrectly saw it as an Americanism. This next one, Tristan couldn't believe. Could you not?
No.
I'm learning something. To our American viewers, did you know that people in Europe make fun of you for using air conditioning? Why do they need it? Why don't they just leave the window open? Mosquitoes? At least in Florida. But here's why they might be joining us soon. During the 2000s...
Why would you be made fun of using air conditioner? Like, you know how much hot outside is. I'm using one now.
2003 European heat wave, 70,000 people died. This was in large part due to the fact that European homes and buildings are not typically equipped with air conditioning. While they laugh at the Americans for this...
Is that true? If someone's from Europe watching this, let me know. Is that true? You guys don't have air conditioners?
Hotter summers are going to force them to take appropriate measures.
Yeah.
Especially since children and the elderly are very susceptible. Again, I stand by mosquitoes. I'm not opening my window in the summer. Winter,
That's true.
Absolutely. Open windows. Moving into the top 9. That's the weird number. Top 9. Many parts of the world accuse the United States of accounting for 25% of the world's carbon emissions. Not so nice. But it also accounts for 25% of the world's economic activity. The truth is that several nations, including countries like Canada, have higher per capita emissions than the US. Next, let's talk about how the world thinks Americans are ruining English. Actually, both British English and American English have diverged from a common 16th century ancestral standard, and in some ways, American English is closer to the original than British English. For example, American English has, for the most part, retained the language's rotosity, pronunciation of the R in words like hard, while British has, for the most part, dropped it. Furthermore, this shift in British English happened around the time of the American Revolution when wealthier Londoners wanted to distinguish themselves from the lower classes. This is only one example, but it goes to show that British English is not an unchanging standard any more than American English. On a totally different note, did you know that Americans don't all live in the suburbs? Nope, not true.
I know, everyone knows.
The fact is that in America, you have plenty of people that live in cities like New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, and the list goes on. In fact...
The thing is, if you think about any country on this world, let's assume Dubai, okay? Dubai is a city, basically, not a country. But let's assume Dubai, okay? If you think in Dubai, everyone is rich, living in penthouse, have luxury cars, many have, but not everyone. That's on you, okay? If you think that. Every country have poverty, have richest people, have middle class, have poverty less or more, depend on the country, but every people have suburbs, countryside, all of those things, okay?
Several regions of the United States.
That's your ignorance if you think a country is just one. America is just rich. No, there's homelessness, there's poor people, there are people, those are working wages to wages, check to check. So it's your ignorance, not the country's. Every country gonna show them good, okay? They're gonna advertise them on top and top. When you sell a product, okay, for the country sell themselves for tourism, for business, for opportunity, all those. When you're gonna sell yourself, you're gonna show only the good parts. Yeah, you're gonna underline you're not gonna show the worst part of yourself. So it's not country's mistake that you haven't read the label properly, okay? You haven't researched enough. It's your ignorance.
States are very European, like the Northeast Corridor, for example. The difference between the US and Europe is that if you want to live in the suburbs in the US, you can, but you don't have to. Now,
here's the thing, here's the biggest difference, but which I think is the biggest difference and which change a lot and affect a lot America is, as of my knowledge, Europe comparing to America, a single country is much bigger than combining multiple countries, or maybe almost approximately same as the size of the Europe. So just by the comparison of the size, I think I have a video where they're going to compare the American states with different places. We will check that later. But yeah, just because of the size, a country have to counter like different problems. There are like 10 countries or 50 countries which are 50 governments which are controlling same area governed by the one government.
This next one is just offensive. Americans are all dumb rednecks. While there are certainly Americans who fit this stereotype, the vast majority don't. Most Americans live in cities near the coasts. Most of them are educated, and most of them are not very different from Europeans in any significant way. Every country has a less educated populace that they themselves make fun of. Even sophisticated nations like Sweden and Switzerland.
Talking about rednecks, I just recently reacted on living with rednecks for 72 hours something. Okay, first of all, I got to know this redneck term when I was searching for the video, and I searched it, and it was like uneducated, someone who's uneducated doing like labor work or something like that. So you get a redneck out of like son or something like that, most probably. I'm not sure, I don't remember properly, but yeah, that's something it means. And it like, I didn't feel good after hearing this, because if someone's uneducated or someone's like doing blue collar jobs, I'll say, it's most of the time it's not their mistake all the time. Sometimes they don't have opportunities. Okay guys, just being able to go to school, it wasn't in your hand, it was in your parents' hand. Okay, not everyone had good parents who sent them in school, especially in bad days. Okay, so it's kind of
fair warning, the last five on our list get a bit dark and crazy, starting with the idea that America is imperialistic. In many parts of Europe, the United States is seen as an aggressive imperial power, even more so than Russia and China. This is largely because our military presence both in Europe and everywhere else. But in our strong defense, Americans never forced you to watch our movies, quarter our soldiers, obey our laws, or get permission to leave your own countries. It was the Russians that did that, and much, much more. Food for thought, after World War II, the Americans liberated and left. The Russians liberated and stayed. All right, number 4 is sure to be a shocker to a lot of foreigners. Americans don't actually all walk around with guns. It's just not true.
That's true.
Except for a few places, the only people...
I'm not saying it's true that they all walk around with guns, but I'm saying, yeah, that can't be the case.
You'll ever see carrying guns in America are the police.
The thing is, you can't show, as of my knowledge, I don't know, over here, if you even carrying a weapon, you can't flaunt it around. Like, you can't show everyone. It's like intimidating to other people who isn't. Imagine you have 5 guys who carrying a gun, or even a single guy who's carrying a gun openly, roaming around showing you. It's intimidating. He can shoot anytime, do whatever. Okay, so it's over here especially, it's not permissible, if that's a word. I'm so sorry for the sound. Okay guys, it's not permissible. Permissible is a word. Like, it's not allowed for you to, it's illegal basically. You can get in jail, your weapon can get concealed over here. And I'm assuming most probably in America also they have this law where if you show your weapon unnecessarily, then
in fact, you'll see more people walking around with guns in Switzerland than you ever would in America. Okay. We admit that, like most stereotypes, there is some truth to this next one, but it's been wildly blown out of proportion.
Okay.
Americans are all crazy Christian right-wingers.
What does that
so
mean?
Right about saying it with that accent. Yes, there are a lot of Christians in America, and while some of them are crazy right-wingers, most of them aren't.
Okay.
In fact, if you ever get a chance to go and stay with one of those crazy Christian families, you'll see that most of them are just genuinely sweet people that go to church on Sundays. This next one sounds like a legit stand-up joke. If you get injured and can't pay for it, you'll just die in the street. Yeah, many people in Europe think this is what happens in America. As with most things that concern America, they're wrong. You can't be denied emergency medical care in the US. That would go against the Hippocratic Oath. The difference is that you get a bill in the mail a few months later. Of course, debt is another issue, but let's get into that.
Here's something I want to add up to. Okay. If you think you'll be denied medical services in need of emergency, if you're in Asia, most of the countries, I'm not talking about top countries, I'm talking about most of the countries in Asia, South Asia, if you don't have money, you'll go to a public hospital, like the government-owned hospitals, and number one, they aren't good at services. Even if you somehow reach there, your chances of dying is much more than from a private hospitals in most of the countries. Okay, so
Right now, Americans are all in debt. Actually, European citizens carry more debt than Americans. The average household debt in the US, OECD, is 113% of the household's income. In the UK, it's 156%. In Sweden, 173%. And in Denmark, it's a whopping 305%. So, what are some misconceptions about the US that you'd like cleared up? Or do you live in America and want to put a stereotype to rest? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your answer to us at list25. And as an American, I apologize for everything going on right now. Don't worry, 2020 is just around the corner. Oh.
okay, yeah. So talking about the video, it was quite informative video. I learned a lot. Like, for example, what people assume is not necessarily what countries, how can I say that, advertise about themselves, but it's most of the time it's some individuals' own ignorance. Okay, it's convenient to not learn about something rather than learning about something. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this video.